God and the devil represent the dualistic essence of human existence. On one hand, we have the path of light, embodying virtues like goodness, truth, beauty, life, the promise of heaven and salvation. On the other hand, lies the path of darkness, with its shadows of evil, deception, betrayal, the negation of life, the fear of hell, and the specter of damnation. The allure of evil captivates us deeply. While many consciously opt for goodness, some inevitably succumb to the temptation of wrongdoing. It's simple to condemn the evildoer, yet truly understanding their motivations proves to be a complex endeavor. Acknowledging the potential for evil within ourselves is crucial to avoiding its snares. Denying our capacity for malevolence only leads us to project it onto others, allowing it to wield power over us, often perceptible to others even when obscured from our own view. The devil assumes the guise of an autonomous personality, transcending human consciousness and will. When we point fingers at others, we're reminded that 3 fingers point back at ourselves. Recognizing that everyone harbors the potential for evil underscores the importance of choosing a moral stance that involves understanding evil yet actively opting against perpetrating it. Belief in demons spans across cultures and epochs, viewing them as malevolent supernatural entities. In ancient Greek thought, daimons encompass both benevolent and malevolent manifestations, the agathadaimon as a guiding spirit or guardian angel, and the kakadaimon as the adversary. These daimons possess an acute awareness of their interconnectedness with humanity, nature, and the cosmos. When our inner daimon aligns harmoniously, we experience eudaimonia, a state of flourishing and fulfillment. Conversely, the kakadaimon disrupts this harmony, leading us astray from our journey toward wholeness. The devil shares resemblances with the fauns and satyrs of Greek and Roman mythology, companions of Dionysus, the god of wine and revelry. Meanwhile, the figure of Pan embodies wilderness, fertility, and musicality. These mythical beings evoke themes of indulgence in worldly pleasures, serving as cautionary tales of the seductive allure of vice. The term panic finds its roots in Pan, the mythical figure known for emitting eerie sounds that induced contagious fear in both herds and individuals frequenting desolate locales. While fear sharpens our senses to identify threats and devise strategies to confront them, anxiety plunges us into a state of unease, leaving us uncertain of the impending dangers and clouding our perceptions. Pandemonium, coined by the English poet John Milton in his epic poem, Paradise Lost, literally translates to all demons, and aptly describes the chaotic frenzy and confusion associated with hell's capital city. These words endure in our lexicon, encapsulating the havoc and disarray the devil and his cohorts can sow within both society and our inner selves. In biblical symbolism, sheep symbolize loyal followers of the Son of God, akin to faithful followers of a shepherd, while goats represent disobedience and obstinance. Goats historically bore the burden of national sins in rituals of atonement, releasing them into the wilderness as scapegoats. This concept of scapegoating, rooted in projecting blame onto others to conceal our own flaws, often occurs unconsciously, fueled by repressed emotions such as envy, anger, or guilt. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, delves into the deeper implications of Christ's crucifixion between 2 thieves, positing them as symbolic scapegoats for humanity's redemption. In the phenomenon of shadow projection, marginalized groups like the lower classes or minorities become targets of repressed psychological contents, reflecting the darker aspects of our collective psyche. The shadow represents the unexplored facets of our personality, manifesting as our darker inclinations when left unacknowledged. None of us are immune to humanity's collective shadow, as unacknowledged negative traits tend to manifest externally, creating discord in our interactions. Being falsely accused inflicts a deep wound, perpetuating a sense of injustice that can linger for years. When confronted with inexplicable actions, we often resort to saying, "I don't know what came over me." The devil serves as a convenient scapegoat for our misdeeds. In contrast, savior projection binds individuals to leaders not in hatred but in blind adoration, often leading to the deification of these figures. Leaders, seen as symbolic saviors, can develop godlike personas, promising to deliver nations from suffering and deprivation, effectively embodying the collective unconscious of millions. The devil is known by myriad names: Satan, Lucifer, the great beast, Beelzebub, the prince of darkness. He embodies the role of adversary, accuser, tempter, deceiver, and the force that severs connections from God. Despite his malevolence, he possesses a keen intellect and wit, earning him the title of the father of all tricksters, making him particularly treacherous. The English term, devil, traces its origins to the Greek diabolos, meaning, the one who divides. In contemporary English, diabolic captures this essence. The Greek verb diabolion translates to tear apart, contrasting with the symbolic, which signifies unity and cohesion. Rollo May, an American existentialist psychologist, underscores this distinction, highlighting how the diabolic fosters disintegration while the symbolic fosters integration within individuals and communities. Communities, ideally, foster brotherly love and unity, epitomized by the maxim, "Love thy neighbor as thyself." Conversely, the devil sows discord and disperses, exemplified by the adage, "Divide and conquer," or "United we stand, divided we fall." May identifies three hallmarks of the diabolic: a fascination with nudity, propensity for violence, and penchant for division. The modern era witnesses a shift where nudity, once reserved for sacred acts within marriage, becomes commodified and sexualized, exacerbated by technology's role in gratifying unfulfilled desires. Similarly, the 20th century witnessed unprecedented violence, a trend that continues to unsettle the future. Moreover, the devil thrives on division, exploiting fault lines in race, sex, religion, politics, and economics, disrupting societal order. Western society's embrace of exploitation, materialism, and egocentrism reflects the diabolic influence, leading to alienation from oneself. Today, the devil manifests in virtual reality, promising utopia beyond physical existence or artificial intelligence devoid of empathy, posing existential challenges. Externally and internally, divisions proliferate, exemplified by split personalities akin to the Gerasene demoniac's legion of voices in the biblical narrative. The archetype of making a pact with the devil pervades popular culture, often symbolized by a crossroads, a liminal space between the physical and spiritual realms. The Faustian bargain, epitomized by the tale of Johann Georg Faust, underscores humanity's perennial temptation to trade the soul for worldly gains, reflecting a moral quandary that transcends time and culture. The Faustian bargain, immortalized in Goethe's masterpiece, Faust, epitomizes one of the most enduring themes in German literature. Faust, a disillusioned scholar seeking ultimate truth, turns to magic in despair. Mephistopheles, the devil's servant, offers Faust earthly pleasures in exchange for his soul. Faust, convinced he will never find satisfaction, accepts the wager. If he experiences a moment of bliss that he wishes to prolong, he forfeits his soul to hell. Despite experiencing such a moment and facing imminent damnation, Faust is ultimately saved by God's grace. His journey teaches him to find fulfillment in progress, not mere accomplishment, leading to spiritual enlightenment and salvation. Interestingly, Faust's salvation hinges on the devil's persistent temptation. Rilke's observation underscores this dual nature of our psyche: the coexistence of angels, symbolizing conscience, and devils, representing temptation. Our inner devils, akin to shadows, retain a connection with the depths of our soul, offering hints for self-realization. The absence of a shadow, as depicted in Peter Schlemil's tale, symbolizes societal alienation and spiritual impoverishment. Giuseppe Tartini's encounter with the devil further explores this theme. Despite creating mesmerizing music inspired by the devil's tutelage, Tartini realizes its inferiority to the otherworldly melodies heard in his dream. This cautionary tale warns against the dangers of ego inflation, where identifying too closely with archetypal figures can lead to psychic destruction and self-delusion. The devil, as an archetype, exerts a profound fascination due to its numinous nature. However, succumbing to its allure risks ego inflation and self-destruction. Faust's journey serves as a cautionary tale, reminding us of the perilous consequences of bargaining with the devil and the transformative power of spiritual enlightenment. Archetypes, rooted in primal instincts, transcend ethical considerations. It falls upon the ego to imbue these archetypal images from the unconscious with moral responsibility, mirroring our duty to care for the welfare of our fellow humans in the external world. Jung emphasizes the importance of integrating these unconscious images, warning that failure to do so results in fragmentation and an incomplete existence. In Christian mythology, temptation emerges early on with the serpent in the Garden of Eden, symbolizing the devil's deceit. The serpent entices Adam and Eve to partake of forbidden knowledge, promising enlightenment but delivering shame and expulsion from paradise. This myth mirrors the Greek tale of Prometheus, who suffers divine retribution for bestowing fire upon humanity, embodying the consequences of consciousness and the ensuing feelings of transgression and punishment. Psychologically, these myths reflect the journey from original wholeness to self-awareness and ego development, symbolized by the fall from paradise. Disintegration precedes self-realization, with redemption stemming from acknowledging and reconciling our fragmented selves. Before delving into the psychology of the devil, it's essential to grasp the nuances of the names Lucifer and Satan. Lucifer, the light bringer, originally referred to the morning star, symbolizing pride and aspiration for divine status. The biblical passage in Isaiah, although addressing the fall of a Babylonian king, became synonymous with Satan's rebellion due to its thematic resonance with the sin of pride. This pride, deemed the cardinal sin, led to both humanity's expulsion from paradise and the devil's rebellion against God. The apocalyptic imagery in the Book of Revelation depicts a celestial battle between angels led by Archangel Michael and rebel angels led by the dragon, resulting in their expulsion from heaven. This narrative underscores the theological significance of pride as the root of spiritual downfall, encapsulating the devil's role as the epitome of pride and rebellion against divine order. The Book of Revelation depicts the great dragon, identified as the ancient serpent, the devil or Satan, being cast down from heaven along with a third of the angels who rebelled against God. This expulsion marks a profound sorrow for the Prince of Darkness, forever separated from the divine presence and haunted by memories of the celestial realm. Confusion arises from the dual interpretation of Jesus as the morning star and the devil as an imitation light bringer. While Jesus embodies authentic light, the devil deceives by masquerading as an angel of light, highlighting his role as the adversary and accuser. In the Book of Job, Satan challenges God's faithful servant, Job, insinuating that his piety stems from material blessings. Despite unimaginable suffering, including the loss of loved ones and personal afflictions, Job remains steadfast in his faith. His ordeal prompts existential questions about the nature of suffering, justice, and God's wisdom. Job's friends, initially offering silent support, later questioned the fairness of Job's suffering, reflecting humanity's struggle to comprehend divine justice in the face of adversity. Job, in turn, questions God's motives but ultimately finds solace in God's wisdom and the restoration of his fortunes. The narrative of Job represents a significant shift in theological understanding, moving beyond the punitive expulsion from paradise to embrace the complexity of human experience and divine wisdom. Job's unwavering faith prompts God's introspection and transformation, culminating in the incarnation of Jesus Christ. The crucifixion of Christ, the ultimate act of sacrifice and redemption, mirrors Job's suffering and underscores God's solidarity with humanity in its darkest moments. Through Christ's death, God shares in human suffering, offering profound empathy and initiating a new covenant between God and humankind. This transformative process symbolizes God's evolving relationship with humanity and underscores the redemptive power of suffering and faith. When Jesus died on the cross, the devil believed he had achieved victory, but his triumph was short-lived. The resurrection of Christ 3 days later marked the moment of the devil's defeat, an event unforeseen by the Prince of Darkness. This period between crucifixion and resurrection, known as the harrowing of hell, saw Christ descending into the underworld to bring salvation to souls held captive there. Jung suggests that Christ's journey to hell was necessary for his eventual ascent to heaven, symbolizing the journey to self-knowledge and spiritual awakening that often begins with a descent into darkness. Just as an open wound invites infection, sin creates vulnerabilities through which the demonic can influence the mind. Satanism often disguises itself as good, enticing individuals with promises of pleasure and allyship. The devil capitalizes on human weaknesses, whispering seductive lies that appeal to ego and pride. The temptation to indulge in sinful behavior leads to a susceptibility to demonic influence, blurring the lines between spiritual warfare and mental health issues. While extraordinary demonic activities like possession or infestation are rare, psychological manifestations of demonic influence are more subtle and pervasive. Temptation, the devil's ordinary activity, begins with deception and leads to inner conflict, paralysis of choice, and ultimately, spiritual and psychological deterioration. The journey from temptation to addiction mirrors the descent into hell, where one loses control over one's actions and becomes trapped in a cycle of vice. What was once believed to be liberating becomes a prison, leading to obsessive behavior, irrational thoughts, and a sense of spiritual and psychological entrapment. The devil's deception often leads to oppression and despair, alienating individuals from loved ones and stripping away any sense of meaning or purpose in life. In moments of vulnerability, the devil preys on weaknesses, tempting individuals with promises of fulfillment. However, those with a pure heart, like the fool in fairy tales, may unwittingly outwit the devil by maintaining their integrity. Jung describes the devil as a representation of the grotesque and sinister aspects of the unconscious, often manifesting as neurosis. This shadow side of the psyche, rejected and repressed by societal norms, can resurface in pathological ways when left unaddressed. By acknowledging and integrating the shadow, individuals embrace their totality, accepting both light and darkness within themselves. In various mythologies and symbolism, the devil represents the union of opposites and the acceptance of evil as part of the human experience. In contrast to the Western view of a holy beneficent God, classical Judaism acknowledges Yahweh's dual nature, encompassing both light and darkness. However, Christianity's emphasis on God's goodness led to the relegation of evil to the figure of Satan, thereby severing the unity of opposites inherent in the divine. Christ's incarnation brought about a transformation in the perception of God, emphasizing moral goodness and righteousness. In this narrative, the devil emerged as the personification of Christ's split-off dark side, embodying the remnants of God's original moral ambivalence. While Christ symbolizes goodness, traces of moral ambiguity remain, as reflected in passages like, "I bring not peace, but the sword." This tension between light and darkness is further explored in texts like the Book of Revelation, contrasting with Christ's message of love and redemption. The devil can be seen as a reflection of God's dissatisfaction with himself, serving as a reminder of the inherent flaw in creation and driving towards conscious realization and greater wholeness. It's important not to anthropomorphize God, as he is the essence of being itself. The devil plays a crucial role in life by facilitating the distinction between good and evil, virtue and sin, and heaven and hell. Moreover, the existence of the devil allows for human action and freedom. Without the freedom granted to the devil to rebel, there would be no ego consciousness, civilization, or opportunity for individuals to transcend the ego through self-realization. The absence of the shadow, representing evil or the darker aspects of human nature, is attributed to the doctrine of the summum bonum, where neither God nor Christ can embody paradox. They must have a single meaning. However, this one-sided perfection necessitates a psychic complement to restore balance, preventing individuals from being irreconcilably split into opposing halves. The concept of privatio boni, or the absence of good, suggests that evil is merely the absence or lack of good, with everything existing being fundamentally good. This idea sparked debates and discussions between Jung and Christian clergymen, highlighting the eternal duel between good and evil within the divine. Jung's exploration of the shadow side of God, embodied in Satan, and its necessity as a compensation to the light side embodied in Christ, led to controversial works like Answer to Job. This concept delves into the hidden aspects of God within the Western unconscious, with Christ and the Antichrist serving as motivating forces in the journey of individuation towards becoming the self, representing the true nature and wholeness of human personality. The dark side represents the missing fourth element of the Trinity, lacking the feminine and material aspects embodied by the flesh and the devil. Jung proposed a quaternity to supplement the traditional Trinity, symbolizing the self. In Revelation, the devil is depicted as being imprisoned for 1,000 years before being released to deceive the nations. This parallels Norse mythology, where the trickster god Loki is bound until his eventual release triggers catastrophic events. Jung saw the coming of the Antichrist as an inevitable psychological law called enantiodromia, where one-sidedness leads to a shift towards the opposite. Life is characterized by opposing forces such as birth and death, health and sickness, and good and evil. Psychic wholeness is restored through the reconciliation of conscious attitudes with their unconscious counterparts. William Blake noted that progression arises from the tension between contraries like attraction and repulsion, reason and energy, and love and hate. Mastery of polarity involves transcending opposites by embracing both and finding balance. Integration leads to wholeness, while disintegration perpetuates evil. The persecution of unbelievers and heretics, along with atrocities committed by seemingly devout individuals, can be attributed to the one-sided pursuit of purity and goodness, resulting in shadow projection and moral hypocrisy. Jung highlights the compensatory role of the psyche in the visions experienced by John, the author of Revelation. Despite striving to lead a pure and holy life, John's visions reveal the collision of opposites, depicting a fierce and terrible aspect of Yahweh alongside the gospel of love. This recognition of the dual nature of God reflects the paradoxical relationship between good and evil. Understanding that good and evil are not absolute opposites but complementary aspects of a paradoxical whole can lead to inner peace. Embracing imperfection and acknowledging one's limitations are essential for achieving psychic wholeness. Ideals serve as signposts rather than attainable goals, and the acceptance of imperfection allows individuals to feel truly at home. The devil represents a real and serious psychological phenomenon, whose temptations can lead to meaninglessness or act as a driving force towards individuation. Without the opposing will represented by Satan, creation and salvation would not be possible. However, it's essential not to give the devil undue credit, as his greatest trick is convincing the world he doesn't exist and portraying himself as the good guy.